Okay, we're starting to record. Good morning, everybody. My name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcut Software, and today's classroom session is going to be about inventory. So this is actually the second portion on inventory. This is the advanced classroom session. So as always, we do have some homework. Presentation is going to be about 30 to 40 minutes. My microphone is on. We are recording. So if you have to leave early, don't worry. We will send everybody a copy of this recording who signed up. And of course, anybody who visits our YouTube channel or our webpage will be able to watch this presentation after the fact as well. So make sure that your speakers are on so you can hear me. And we will have time for questions at the end of this session. So let's go into the topic of today. So with inventory, previously we talked about the basics in inventory, how to create your items, whether it's a retail item or a professional item, how to set up suppliers, companies, and lines. But now we're going to go to the next level of inventory management. One of the most important things that you should be doing is taking an inventory count. So whether you're a school and you have to do a count quarterly, or whether you're a salon, a spa, or barbershop and you just do inventory once a year, you should know the proper steps. If you're using shortcuts to track your inventory, you should absolutely know how to order and how to receive inventory in the system so that your reports are accurate and you actually know what the business is going through. If you decide, and especially with Mother's Day coming up, that you want to bundle a few of your products together to create a gift basket, you should know how to bundle your inventory so that you can choose items from different companies or from the same company, group them all together with a single barcode, a single price, and then every time you sell one of those gift baskets, Shortcuts will then deduct the appropriate number of those products out of your inventory. So that is how bundling works. We're going to look at it. And of course, what are the particular reports you should be looking at when you're running your inventory? So if you haven't used Shortcuts in a while, or you haven't really gone through too much inventory control in Shortcuts, this is going to be the classroom session for you. So let's start with the first one. And we're not going to do a lot of slides. We're going to do a lot of live work in the actual shortcuts. So the first topic we're going to look at is how to do an inventory count. So again, whether you do one once a year, you do one quarterly, follow along, and this is how you actually do an inventory count. Now remember, the version of shortcuts that I'm using is the newest one. It's version 8.1 of shortcuts. So your version of shortcuts may look a little different if you're on version 7 or the earlier version 8.0. However, the steps are identical. On the right side of the screen, we're going to the Inventory tab. And on the Inventory tab, Products is, of course, where you add your companies, your lines, your suppliers. So on my test system, I have 3 big companies I work with: Goldwell, KMS, and Redken. So if I decide I'm going to count, see how much I actually have of all of my products, under the Inventory tab, I'm going to take inventory. So on this window, I do have previous counts that I've started or even counts that are in progress. So you do not necessarily need to count everything that you have from every company. So if you just want to, let's say, do a color line from a certain company, you can absolutely do a count just on that. So how do you create an inventory count? From this window, on the right side, we're going to press New, and we're going to give it a label. In this case, maybe I'm going to count some of my Redken. So I'll just label this Redken, and Shortcuts will say who is responsible for this count. So is it Andy, Sam, or in this case, just myself? So I'll say I'm going to do this, and Shortcuts is going to say, okay, what do you want to count specifically? So again, I don't have to count every Redken product. If I decide I'm just going to count Redken color, I can add the specific item on the right side. So I'll select add, and Shortcuts will ask me, okay, is there a particular company or line you want to color? In this case, Redken color. That's what I want to focus on. I could choose the entire line, but really I just have two colors from Redken that I want to go with. So I'll choose the entire color line by selecting it, and on the right side, pressing the Add button. So Shortcuts has added my two colors. Now Shortcuts will also ask, is there anything else I want to add? Do I want to count my KMS color as long as I'm here? Or Goldwell? And in this case, I'll say no, I'm just focusing on my Redken. So once I press done, Shortcuts then shows me, okay, according to what your last count was in inventory, you should have 8 bottles of color 1.0 and you're out of color 2.2. So at the bottom of the screen, I can tell Shortcuts, I would like to start my count. And Shortcuts will confirm, are you sure I want to activate this? Yes, I do. And these are the possible forms you can print out. So if you have your printer available, you can print a couple of copies of these and you can change the amount. So if I want 2 of my inventory forms, in this case, I just want 1 of each. I'll press done. And then Shortcuts will send those forms to the printer. So then I would put it on my clipboard. I'd go to my back office and I'd count, what do I actually have? So of course I'll put this on the clipboard and I'll come back to this later. Now I don't actually have a printer connected. I'll just save it for later. So once I press done, Shortcuts knows that I have begun a count. And it's trying to print all 3 forms. I'll say, no, we'll print those later. So then what happens? Because of course, we don't expect you to do the count then and there. Maybe you're actually going to do your count at the end of the day or on the weekend. So eventually, you're going to fill in your form with the actual number of products you had, and you'll return to the inventory button, to your take inventory, and Shortcuts will ask you, which one of the counts that you are doing do you want to update? In this case, I want to update my Redken. So I'll select it, and I'll go to the next window, and now I can make adjustments. So that is on the first column, count. So I went into the back, I counted my actual Redken color. How much do I have? Sure enough, I still have 8 tubes of number 1. However, it actually turns out I have 2 remaining tubes of color 2.2. So Shortcuts is going to say, okay, well, we're not quite sure how you ended up with that color because we thought you were out, but that is a $40 value. So there is an adjustment here. And Shortcuts can even record what was the reason that I did this count. In this case, this was my quarterly inventory. So then once I press done, what Shortcuts is actually going to do is make adjustments if it has to. So if I counted less of color number 1, let's say I only had 7 bottles, then Shortcuts is actually going to update my inventory and say you have 7 instead of 8. And in this case, I actually have 2 remaining number 2 colors, so it's going to update the count from 0 to 2 in my inventory. So I will press finish, and Shortcuts will actually confirm with me. Am I absolutely sure I want to conclude this count, or do I want to go back and continue counting? I can say yes or no. In this case, yes, I am ready to complete it. Are you absolutely sure? Because once you continue, you're not allowed to make an adjustment. I'll say yes. So I have to make sure I make my adjustment and leave a reason. So now I can finish this. So Shortcuts will say, your count is a little bit different than what the system had previously. Are you sure you want to make your adjustment? Yes, I do. Are there any other forms I need to print out? No, I've just done my count. Done and done. So now my inventory for Redken has been updated or will be updated once I log out. Now, somebody did have a question, stand by, and let me take a look at this question. Jasmine has. Can you go over the forms? I currently only use the inventory count form. Good question, Jasmine. So let's actually take a look. So in inventory, what are the forms we're looking at? So I decide I'm going to do a new count. So again, I'll go through the steps. New. And in this case, I'm going to go Goldwell. And I'm going to add, in this case, Goldwell, and I'll just choose the first colorants. So I'll select that and add it, and then press done and start. So do I want to activate this count? Yes, I do. So what are the specific forms? Inventory count form. So in this case, this is possibly the one that Jasmine uses, and that's the one that has the columns of the name of the product, the barcodes, what the computer thinks you have in stock, and a place where you fill in what your actual count is. Now, unlist items form. If you're doing maintenance on your inventory and there are certain products that you want to deactivate or remove from the system, then Shortcuts is going to just list the items and actually have a column. Now, if I remember correctly, because I haven't used this form in a while, to let you know which items you want to inactivate, what are the counts of those items, so that you have the control for that. And the last one, inventory maintenance form. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is the one that allows you to change, or if you were thinking of changing the setting from back bar to retail for certain items. So if you have certain items that were labeled a color line, back bar only, and how many of those you had, this form allows you to then mark it down that the next time you go through your inventory, you're going to change some items to retail, if I remember correctly. I haven't used the other two forms in a while. I'll take a look next time so I have the exact answer for you, Jasmine. Okay, I hope those answers those questions. But for the majority of you that are just doing the inventory, you're probably only going to use the inventory count. So I'll go ahead and press done. And I really should cancel printing on that. And Shortcuts will ask me one more time, and I can cancel the printing. Okay, so that is how you actually do an inventory count. So again, whether you do it once a year or multiple times a year, you should absolutely know what you have in retail, what you have in professional. Let's switch screens again. So then the next thing that we're going to look at is how to create an order. And of course, every time I do this, it swaps the slides. So creating an order. And hopefully everybody that's attending today's classroom session is using Shortcuts to place orders or to receive orders, because this is going to help the system understand what your actual volume of retail and professional is. Because at the end of each day, any empties you have that the team used, whether it's a color tube or a bottle of conditioner, you should be checking those out as a professional product. So Shortcuts knows what the business is using. And of course, anything you sell as retail, you want to know seasonally, are you having any adjustments that should be made for certain products? Do you have products that move a lot or products that don't really move that fast? And if so, how do Shortcuts know what to calculate, what to place on your order forms? So this is how you create an order in the system. Now, for many of you, you actually go to a website, to one of the big distribution companies, you fill in your order, and you just send it out. So even if you never use Shortcuts to place an order, you should use Shortcuts to receive an order. So you have a paper trail, you have a record of how much you ordered, how much was received, how much is in your inventory, what is the value of this, so that you have the reports and the tax information when the time comes if you need those numbers. So let's create an order, and let's also talk about receiving an order, because the steps are almost identical. So again, we're under the inventory tab on the right, and we'll begin with products. Now, this is something we talked about in the original inventory classroom session. The most important thing that you should have when you're dealing with inventory isn't necessarily what's the name of the company, what's the name of the line, and what's the name of the product. That's actually secondary in importance. the most important thing you should do is tell Shortcuts who is your supplier. So at the bottom of your product screen, you're going to choose the pull-down menu, Organize by Supplier. So you should absolutely tell Shortcuts who are your suppliers for these particular companies. By default, there are no suppliers in Shortcuts. You actually press the word business, press new, and add a supplier. When you get a chance, you'll choose the name of your supplier and go to details. The information that you put in the first column here is actually what's going to appear on an order form when you place an order with your rep. So actually on the left side, if you notice, there is a place for email. There is a place for web. So if you ever have to email your rep your order form from Shortcuts, this is how Shortcuts knows who to go to. And on the right side, their contact information as well. On the right column, if you have an account number, a shipping reference number, you can add that as well. So make sure you have your suppliers in the system first. That way, when you're adding your companies and lines, Goldwell, for example, if I go to the details for Goldwell, Shortcuts knows every time I place an order, it should go to my Symbiotic rep. So make sure that is set first. So now, when you're ready to place an order, or if you've already ordered and you're just getting a shipment, these are almost identical steps. On the right side under Inventory, we're going to the Ordering button. And again, you do not have to place an order through Shortcuts in order to receive an order. So it's okay if you place an order on the company webpage for whoever it is, but when you get that shipment in, receive it through Shortcuts. So the paper trail begins and Shortcuts knows exactly what you have. So what do we start with? We always start at the top of the screen. I just got a shipment from which supplier? In this case, I'm going to go to Symbiotic. So that is my supplier, and I will press New. Now, Shortcuts will remind me I should run a statistics calculation to help me generate an order. And I'll say, well, I'm not going to generate an order, I'm going to receive an order today. So I'll press Done. Now, by default, Shortcuts actually wants to help you put an order together. And if you've run the statistics calculator in the past, and if you set maximums and minimums, and Shortcuts knows what those numbers are, then I can tell Shortcuts, I would like to order any retail products that haven't met my minimum or my maximum, and Shortcuts will put together a list of items. Or I can say it's just for my back bar, and Shortcuts will do back bar instead. Or I can say I'm going to have a mix of both. So in either case, Shortcuts can help you put the order together. Now, if you manually want to choose that, you do have the ability to just press the Add button on the bottom left corner and say, okay, I'm actually going to choose not by supplier, but by company and line. So I know I received Goldwell from Symbiotic. So am I going to order a little bit of everything from Goldwell or a specific line? In this case, developers. So I need some developers because I'm currently at 0. So I'll choose a few of these developers by selecting the buttons on the left side of the name. So I'm choosing the first 6 or 7. And on the right side, I'm going to add those. Am I going to choose anything else? In this case, no. I'm just looking to get some developers. Now, how many do I want to order? So in the middle, that would be quantity. So in this case, I need 6 of these, 6 of these, 6 of these, 8 of these. As for the gallon, I only need 1 of those. And again, 6, 6, and 8. So by putting together my order, at the bottom of the screen, Shortcut says, okay, based on the previous numbers that you had for buy price, this is going to cost $4.63. Now, if I've been working with my rep and my rep says, actually, if you place an order this month, we'll actually give you a discount. Notice in the right column, I actually have fields that I can adjust. So I can press the order discount button. And my rep says, actually, if you order this month, my promotion, I'm going to give you 15% off. So I could type in 15% or a fixed dollar amount. Let's say they were going to give you $50 off. and press done. So now Shortcuts knows, okay, there's going to be adjustment made. In this case, almost $70 will be my discount. But what about freight? What about shipping cost? Is there amount I have to pay for this? Does that amount get taxed? And what should the tax rate be? So I want to make sure I set that up. In this case, my rep is going to pay for the shipping, so I'll leave that alone. So now, if I press the order button, Shortcuts will actually email my rep. It'll say, this is how much of my developers I need. They'll put together the order and send it to me. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to order it. And then Shortcuts will say, am I ready to proceed with this order? Yes, I am. So I can email them, or I can print a PDF, physically print it out and hand it over to them the next time they visit. Okay, so the order has been placed. So now it's outstanding. I probably have to wait a week to receive this. Now, while we're waiting, I think Jasmine had a follow-up question. Is there a way to make the company line default sort by? Good question. So when you're doing inventory and you're in the product screen, is there a way to organize these particular lines? Now, by default, these are actually organized alphabetically. And the way you can tell Shortcuts to organize it based on a specific column is by clicking the column header at the very top. So in this case, I am on the column header that says product. And if I leave it alone, by default, it's ascending alphabetically, Goldwell, KMS, Redken. And if I open the line or the company, that is still organizing ascending alphabetically. Now, if I click the product header again, now it's descending alphabetically. So the same actually applies to the other columns. So if I'm on the buy and I press the buy button, it actually organizes it ascending based on the buy price or the sell price or the current levels from least to most. So you do have the ability to sort them alphabetically or by one of the numbers on the top of your column header. Now, the one thing you don't necessarily have the ability to do is put it in the order that makes the most sense to you. So I can't, for example, if I go through a lot of colorants express toning and I just want to always keep an eye on it, I do not have the ability to drag and drop this number 9 champagne up to the top of my list because Shortcuts always wants to organize it alphabetically, ascending to descending. Jasmine has a follow-up. She's saying not necessarily in the inventory screens. When adding products into the order, is there a way to make the company line the default sort by? Okay, so that's slightly different. So when you're placing an order, and again, we would say I'm going to order from Symbiotic. I'm going to generate a new order. So in this case, if I'm telling it I'm going to order some retail, and Shortcuts puts together a list of products it thinks I need to order. So is there a way to tell Shortcuts to set this as a default sort based on company and line? So if I need to add something, by default, this should always come up based on supplier. So I cannot default this to company and line instead. And that I believe is by design. Since the majority of the sites we work with order directly from their suppliers, that's why it always queues up supplier first when you're generating an order, rather than company and line and then selecting, if 90% of the items you order from KMS, instead of having KMS come up first. I hope that makes sense, Jasmine. It's by design against supplier. In this case, I'm not going to save this order. I will press done. And no, I'm not going to save my current order. Okay, so we've generated an order in Shortcuts. So what's going to happen when that order actually arrives? You'll return to the Inventory tab, and you'll return to the Ordering button. And Shortcuts will say, here it is. Here's that order I placed from Symbiotic a couple of days ago. Am I ready to receive it? Yes, I am. So at the bottom of the screen, I will press Receive. Now, this may happen from time to time. You get an incomplete order. So if I were to just press the Receive button at the bottom of the screen, Shortcuts will then add this number, this quantity of bottles into my inventory. But in this case, there's a few short. So for these last two developers that I ordered 8 from, I actually only got 4 of each. As soon as I make an adjustment here, Shortcuts is going to ask, okay, you're about to receive 4. The remaining 4 that you ordered, would you like to put them on the back order? Yes, I would. Okay, what about the other one? Again, I only received 4 of the second one. And Shortcuts will confirm. What about those other bottles? Do you also want to add them to your back order? Yes, I do. And maybe I will receive those tomorrow or receive those next week. Now, at the top right, Shortcut says, would you like to generate an invoice number for this? So I'll put it in and then receive it. And Shortcuts will confirm, do I really want to receive this invoice? Yes, I do. And it has been received successfully. So when I go to my inventory and I go to my Goldwell, and I believe it was my colorants here, it's going to update. Let's see, do I remember which one it was? And naturals, not my naturals. Was it my next shades? It might have been my last colorants. One of these, I know I had just received. I should have paid a little bit more attention. Anyhow, I forgot the line, but they're going to be added to my inventory. So those remaining 4 tubes, or those 4 bottles of developer that I was waiting for, they're going to stay in my outstanding list until I've actually received them. So I'll continue to go back to inventory, ordering, choose the outstanding items, and when I actually receive what was left, 4 bottles of each, I'll update the invoice number. So this is a different invoice, and I will finish receiving my products. Now, if I keep them on back order, Jasmine has a good question. Does it send the rep another email? It does not. Shortcuts will remember that you are owed these items, but that original order should be correct, and your rep should be aware that they still owe you some items. So I can press done, and now Shortcuts has received both orders and has updated my inventory. So the steps should be the same, whether you're ordering or receiving through Shortcuts. If I go directly to Symbiotic's webpage, put together my order there, put in my credit card, send it away, I would still want to receive it through Shortcuts. So the steps are identical, whether I'm ordering or receiving. The only difference is at the bottom of the screen, am I about to generate this order and send it to them? Or am I about to receive these items into my inventory? So it's very important that you're always receiving correctly into Shortcuts, rather than going into your product screen and manually updating these numbers. Because if your site, you just have the habit of going into current and typing in how much you actually have, Shortcuts in that case doesn't have a history, doesn't have a record of how much you're paying on shipping costs. Are you getting discounts on anything? Instead, it just knows that you're manually making adjustments here. And of course, that's no way to keep an accurate count on how much inventory you have and when you place your orders. So always receive or order using this tool. So let's go back to our presentation. So now we've talked about taking inventory, and let's switch the screen again. So we've talked about taking inventory, placing and receiving an order. So now the next thing Well, we've actually done both placed and received in order. So last but not least, bundling products. If you're ever dealing with a gift basket scenario, how do you put together your own custom gift baskets? So to do that, especially with Mother's Day coming up, on the right side, we're going to go to inventory and at the bottom, bundle. This is the tool that allows us to put things together. However, before you bundle any products, the first thing you need to tell Shortcuts is where are you going to save your gift baskets? So you actually have to create a line and product that is going to have your gift basket. So in this case, let's say for Mother's Day, I'm going to put together a Goldwell gift basket. So I will choose from my inventory screen the company Goldwell, and I will add new. Now let me make sure I haven't already created one. I'm pretty sure I haven't. Nope, I have not. So I'm going to choose Goldwell and press new. And I'm going to label it gift basket. So that's the line. But what types of gift baskets am I putting together? Well, maybe my business is actually going to have multiple types. What's the first one? Of course, the first gift basket I would want to create is the Mother's Day gift basket. But what other gift baskets could I put together? I'll actually put one together for Valentine's. Anything else I'm going to put together? Sure. As long as I'm at it, I'll put together a Father's Day gift basket. So really putting together bundles, putting together gift baskets are limited only by the items you carry and the types of clients you have. So in this case, what is my Mother's Day gift basket going to consist of? So I can actually tell Shortcuts, maybe I'm going to put some moisture repair in the gift basket. Maybe I'm going to put a hairspray in the gift basket or something to save the color, put it in the gift basket. So anything that I have from any company, I can take one, two, or multiple and put together my gift basket. So let's actually put together the Mother's Day one. So now that I told Shortcuts I have a line and a basket I'd like to put together, I'm going to go to the bundle button. And Shortcuts is going to ask me, what are the items that are going to go in this bundle? So on the first row, this is where I tell Shortcuts, what am I going to add? So I will press the plus button on the top left. There's a plus button next to the word name, and Shortcuts will say, what is in the gift basket? So I'll open up my Goldwell line, and I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to go to, scroll down a little. Let's say it's items from Color Vitality are in the gift basket. So I will choose the blonde conditioner, blonde shampoo, and I'll press add. So the blonde conditioner, the blonde shampoo, what else is in the gift basket? I'll choose maybe something from Hairplay. So the clay wax. So things that usually don't go together, but those are in my gift baskets. So the hybrid clay wax 50 mil. Done. So Shortcuts knows, okay, I'm going to take one of each of these for the gift basket, and I can customize the quantity. So maybe my basket should have 2 conditioners or 2 shampoos. I can change the quantity. So Shortcut says, okay, I'll take one of each of these items. Where am I going to put those? So in the second row, when I press the plus button, I'm going to tell Shortcuts, take one of each of those, and you're going to put it in my gift basket, my Mother's Day gift basket. So I will choose Mother's Day and press add. And then Shortcuts is even going to ask me, how many gift baskets would I like to put together? So if I usually have a few of these that I sell during Mother's Day, maybe I'll put together 5 of them. So Shortcuts knows to take one of each of those products and put them in, or I should say, yeah, take one of each of those products for each gift basket and make 5 gift baskets all together. So once I press done, oops, sorry, I forgot to tell Shortcuts to bundle before I press done, and Shortcuts will remind me, yes, I want to bundle those or cancel. I'll press bundle. There, Shortcuts has bundled the items. Now I can press done. So when I go back to my inventory, my product screen, I'll go to Goldwell, I'll go to my gift basket, and I will see I have 5 Mother's Day gift baskets. And the items that were in those have now been deducted. So my conditioner, my shampoo, I'm actually -5 in each of those because I moved them into the gift basket. And then my hair play, my clay wax 50 ml, now I'm -5 because I put those in the gift basket. So after Mother's Day, I decide, okay, I'm going to break apart my gift baskets and return those items back to inventory. That is when you press Unbundle. And all you do essentially is reverse the steps. So on the first column, I'm going to tell Shortcuts, what am I going to break apart? I'm going to break apart my Mother's Day gift basket. So I will add the Mother's Day gift basket. And then Shortcuts is going to say, what would I like to take out of the gift basket? So here's the thing. Let's say the only difference between the Mother's Day gift basket and the Valentine's Day gift basket is I swap out a conditioner or a shampoo or the wax for a perfume instead. I can actually tell Shortcuts to remove just one item from this gift basket and then add a new item into my gift basket later. But in this case, I'm going to break the gift basket apart in its entirety. So again, I'll choose the specific items in that gift basket. So I'll go to my, I believe it was Color Vitality. Yep. So my conditioner, my shampoo, and under my hair play, my clay wax. So Shortcuts is going to say, okay, take one of each of these out of the gift baskets. How many gift baskets am I going to break apart? I'm going to break all 5 of my gift baskets apart. So Shortcuts will remember, okay, so I need to go through each of these gift baskets and take one of each of these products back out of them. So at the bottom of the screen, I unbundle, and Shortcuts has now returned those products back to their original line. So keep that in mind. If your business likes to put together baskets for occasions, for the holidays, you should know the steps to put items into the baskets and how to return them back to their original lines. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. And of course, let's switch our screens. There we go. So bundling and unbundling does take a little bit of practice. Oh, I'm sorry. Did it tell you what the salon cost of your basket is? Good question, Lynn. Let's go back to that. Now, in your inventory control, you know how much the prices of these gift baskets are. So individually, you do have a record of that. However, as you're putting together your gift basket, you could say, my Mother's Day gift basket is $100. So you actually set the price on your gift basket. Shortcuts does not simply add the sell price for each individual product and put it in the sell price. You have to tell Shortcuts what is the price for all of these things together. So that is a good question, Lynn. Thank you for reminding me. And in your report, Shortcuts will remember the original buy or sell price for those products, and then what your prices were for those gift baskets as well. So let's go back to the presentation again. And there we go. So we've talked about bundling and unbundling. Lynn's follow-up was she meant the cost to the salon so you can decide the selling price. Now, as you're bundling them, Shortcuts is not going to say what the cost of the individual products are. You would have to know that from the actual company in line, where Shortcuts lets you see what your buy and sell price is. And then you decide what should your gift basket be worth. There's nowhere in the bundling process where Shortcuts will give you a suggestion or just show you the total price of that. Now, when you're dealing with inventory, you should absolutely know your key reports. So we've got your control report. So this is where you're going to see what your current and required levels are. So what's on order, if you've placed orders, what hasn't been received yet, what are your prices? So that's definitely one of the key reports. Inventory movement history. So this doesn't just include retail and professional product. If you're bundling items, if you're changing the prices on items in your inventory screen, if you're making adjustments, you want to know what's being moved for your inventory, what's changing for your inventory. Inventory received, of course. If you're placing orders or receiving orders in Shortcuts, then you're going to have a record of all of that. Your inventory received summary. So in this case, if you're doing a quarterly snapshot of what you're doing, so you set a date range, what are your totals for each of your individual companies? What are your costs with regards to freight or taxes? And last but not least, outstanding orders. So again, every time you generate an order, every time you receive an order, you don't necessarily receive all of the products each shipment. There are a few things that remain in outstanding, and Shortcuts will show you when was the order placed, what was the company, what are the products. So you have a record and you can see exactly, hey, I received half my order 2 months ago. I still haven't received the rest. I need to get on the phone with my rep and find out what's happening. So those are the big ones you should keep track of. So that covers our classroom session for today. I know we've covered a lot of information, so be sure to review this, especially if you're doing your inventory counts or you've decided to start using ordering and receiving through Shortcuts to make sure you're comfortable with it. You should know how to put together your own bundles, your own gift baskets now. And of course, which reports you want to keep track of when you're running your inventory management. So with all of that said, we're now opening up the floor for questions. And I know we've been answering questions all along the classroom session. So Jasmine or Lynn or anybody else who's attending today's session, if you have any other questions, now's your chance. And I have a feeling some of our attendees are just writing down notes right now. And of course, if you're watching this recording after the fact and you have a question with regards to inventory, what steps you're taking, perhaps you missed our first classroom session on the basics of inventory, let us know. So you can actually ask us via email. We're at education@shortcuts.net. You can also catch us on social media. So if you're on Facebook, you can ask us on Shortcuts North America or on Instagram. And one of us, as in our educators or our customer care team, will actually reach out to you. And if you have any other follow-up questions, do let us know. Oh, Freddie has a question. What do you do if after you receive an order and you need to change something that you received? So that is an interesting question. So we've generated an order, we've received an order, and you realize that something that you just received either has a different barcode, a different buy price, a different whatever it is. You don't necessarily have a way of going back, and let me actually show you in your receiving. So you can't necessarily go backwards in time as you're ordering or receiving. So let's say received, Symbiotics. So this first order, the one that was missing a few things. If I go to edit and I start making changes here. So I had cut down my quantity of these developers. I said I got 4 when I actually had ordered 8, and Shortcuts put those remaining 4 on back order. And I realized one of my toning lotions here. It was actually 5 bottles. If I hit save, Shortcuts will actually make me modify this order. Average cost or anything associated with it, it will update those records. Now it does allow me to change the received order. And if I go into my product screen, I'm not certain, because I haven't tested it, if it will modify my current numbers based on the number I just modified. So always double check before you receive it officially, because even though you are allowed to audit this portion, and save it. So Shortcuts will say, it says on-hand stock quantity and average cost will be updated for any products edited if you proceed. So it should make those adjustments. So good reminder. Again, I haven't edited those in a long time, but you do have that ability. So it's always good for your records, but of course, try to make sure the counts are accurate the very first time. Okay. Rosemary has a question. Is this a repeat? What is the verified column for? So let's go back. So Rosemary has a question. And we'll go into one of the orders that was received. So on the right side, verified. So this is something that Freddie wants to make sure also gets noticed. If you're doing an inventory count or if you're doing an actual receiving portion, verified is saving into the report, saving into your security log. Who is responsible for receiving this order, making sure that the quantity, the barcode, everything matches up. So as you're tagging this, there is now a record that my security pin, my security level has confirmed. These are the accurate counts. These are the accurate numbers that I just received. If you're not sure, if let's say you have an assistant manager that's just opening up a box and says, I think everything's here is cool. So I'm just going to leave verified alone and hit done. So that's now been recorded by the logs, by the system. So if I return to that later, and I go and I do a count, and I realize, well, wait a minute. Nobody signed off on any of this. Nobody has confirmed my numbers. So I'll go back to the box, make sure every quantity, every item that should be updated in my inventory corresponds correctly. And this checkbox ensures that somebody actually did a count on it and they're getting a stamp in your reports that this order has been verified. And it will update the numbers once you've confirmed that order. Okay. I hope that helps, Rosemary. Let's go back. Now, remember, the version of Shortcuts I'm currently using is 8.1. So that's the new build. So my inventory screen, my bundling screen may look a little bit different on my computer versus yours. However, the steps are identical. So just the color of the buttons, the layout is a little bit different, but the steps that I'm going through do match up in the previous version of Shortcuts, version 7 Fusion, and the newest version. Okay, now if anybody needs to get their version of Shortcuts updated, give our customer care team a call so we can get you upgraded. Also, if you're looking at one of our tier packages to get text bundling, or if you want to sign up for global payments, which is our new payment processing solution, they're really great for integrating credit cards. They're probably one of the best companies we've worked with. Again, give our customer care team a call to see about upgrading your system, upgrading the plan that you're on, and even getting credit card integration if you don't already have it. And of course, if you have follow-up questions for our education team, you can reach us at education@shortcuts.net. And you can also ask us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So go ahead and message us, and somebody from the team, including me, may get back to you. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate all of the questions. I appreciate the attendance. And I will see you on the next classroom session. Have a great day, everybody.